less enthusiasm to learn an entire language is there. They get comfortable in their lifestyles and they don't want to learn nothing new. But if they learn something new, it'll give them a new outlook on life. It's just like detailing the car, you know, fixing up the old car. When you detail it, make it fresh, you want to drive that mug around and let people see it. It gives you a new vigor for life to develop new skills over time. But the youth are already calibrated. When they hear the language, they was born based off the beat and the music that's been playing, more apt to draw to the language than a regular adult.
I agree with that too, because it's like something about the youth that they're like so excited. Like when they start learning Nuwabic, I'm talking about they fucking enthusiasm be through the roof. It be through the roof. And another thing that I don't want to forget this, brother. I want to give a shout out to the brother, Dr. Karam Ellis, and his family, his mate, and his children. When I tell you that they are the epitome of what a Nuwabian family should be, as far as being on the language level, they are the epitome. He sent me a few videos that his wife and his children and him basically recorded as far as like going through the process, because he raised his children up with fluent Nuwabic, no English in the household. And when I tell you he did a damn good job, that's my dude right there, Dr. Karam Ellis. Shout out.
That's what's up. I got a homeboy in Detroit, Zoshan Moon, who's a Nuwabian. He teach his children, been teaching his children since they was born. He don't even speak to them in English in the house.
That's how Dr. Karam is. Like, you got to see his videos. Like, he also basically was telling me on one of the lives that he did with me, from his perspective, as far as like how to get the other different aspects that come along with language. For example, he said he noticed that once when he started teaching his children Nuwabic from birth, that cut the TV out. So then they had to create things that was relative for them to watch. So he started actually doing Nuwabic plays, or with the what do you call it, like a ventriloquist type thing where you got the two puppets and one hand.
The puppet show.
The puppet show, right? He created the puppet show, and then he started to actually create music in it. His wife and him, which the master teacher used to also have them down on Tamaray, singing and rapping and stuff in Nuwabic. But he basically showed his creativity that once when the language English was eradicated and Nuwabic, replaced it, that the other social elements or aspects of social life that was needed to be replaced, that required, the language to be spoken while actually viewing it, they actually implemented it. And that shit worked. It worked. Young Elder back in the building. We had a question for you, Young Elder. You there? I think your mic muted.
Hey, yeah, my phone I got it on charger. My phone went dead.
Oh. Yeah, we had a question for you. So you gave me a example of like the language, right? That's what we was just talking about, the Nuwabic. And you said that in 10 years, this would be one of the methods that would probably be one of the best ways to teach. Now let's fast forward past the method and get to a generation of people, a population of people that were born and raised speaking Nuwabic fluently. How do you envision their interaction with the world would be? And can you compare and contrast their interaction in that day and time in contrast to their interaction now?
Yeah, by 2030, if you keep this format, it'll be everybody will be speaking it, and the language is one of the main key points to your nationality, to me, because the language is going to give you your own tribal tongue, and it's going to unite us more as a people. It'll give us something that we got that's everybody else don't got. And but everybody else got it, but they got their own. You know what I'm saying? They got their own. The Mexicans got even though they speak in Spanish, and that's like from conquerors, and they really spoke another language. I'm gonna get into that on a different species, evolution of human species. While I talk about the Sans people's language. Really, the Chinese language is the origin of it is from the Sanskrit language, from Sans people, these Sans people, and the Hindus mixing in together, and So the language, and that Chinese language is from a Creole of over time of the click language that the Sans people speak, and the Sanskrit from the Hindus, right? Maybe one of the reasons why they call it Sanskrit, connected with the Sans people, because the Sans people is the oldest the species on the planet as far as humanoids go. Yeah, and so yeah, that over time, in about 10 years, everybody will be speaking it, and what it'll do is we'll be more intelligent. It'll open up more compartments in our brain that's need to be unlocked through the language as part of the DNA. See, it's a lot of codes in our DNA that's being unlocked right now. Like as the brother Rod Hayes revealed all of the stuff that he's revealing, because a lot of people weren't talking about none of the stuff he was talking about. They weren't looking at it from that perspective that he gave. So yeah, the brother Rod is a legend in my book because with the perspective that he gave, it gave me another look at this thing. And another thing is what the language will do. We can be more. Like I say, the main thing it'll build more of us a unity as a nation with the language. You know what I'm saying? I see it in 10 years us speaking it, and we'll be accepted. We don't gotta accept. They don't gotta accept us. We gotta accept them. See all those suckers that folks that didn't help us, while those dirty Moors was over here taking advantage of us. Nobody came and like I'm gonna tell you, a lot of them. Hey, Hakeem, you gotta go in there with it. A lot of those a lot of those other races who wasn't with the dirty Moors, but they knew what they was doing. They never did tell us. They never did say straight up. Like the people that was on that train the other day when I was in Houston, those Mexicans, they saw me with my Native American attire on, and they were talking in Spanish, saying, "I wonder do he know that they are the original people and that these they got took advantage of." And I'm saying to myself, why, they speak English, why they ain't telling me that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
it's a journey of self-discovery is why.
Okay,
can't nobody tell you who you is. You have to figure out who you is by how you vibe with the earth.
Okay, go ahead.
This is why all of the foreigners come over here and live off us, because we the salt of the earth. We the flavor. All things spring and come forth from this land, the great Atlant. They call it Atlantis, right? We the Atlanteans. And so when we give the culture in arts and entertainment to the world, we spiced it. Imagine life with no music, right? How miserable would that shit be? But we'll still find the music because we'll be listening to the birds sing, the crickets chirping, and the frogs quirking, right? Because we would have to find a form of musical expression to match our emotional development. Music is intricately tied to who we are. They know this. That's why they exploit us in the industry, because they know we know how to reach each other no matter what musical genre it is. We can get the message through the music. So they want to control the messages that we put in the music so that they can give us the false pretense. Like they came out with mumble rap because they know that we can't really tell what somebody's saying. But you know what it told me? They mumbling because they're not free to say what they want to say. Right? So now I got to answer that grievance. Right? So when you answer the grievance, what's the remedy? Take the motherfucking industry and decentralize it. Let every artist own his own shit because it's his shit he created. And then if you want to aid and assist the artist, you be a facilitator of allowing him to express himself to the world, and he give you a fee. You don't pay him, he pay you.
Muhammad before me. He was old and wrinkled up, and I was fucked up. Because he wasn't supposed to be old and wrinkled up according to how he used to live. But then he told me, because that was the first thing I want to know. If you got, right, and I'm talking to one they call Master Muhammad, the Sufi mystic, the one that they trying to figure out what happened to him. And I know what happened to him, and I know where he at. I know where the body was, and all that. But I'm not going to get into that because that's not necessary for this video. Master Muhammad told me the reason why he was all wrinkled and aged, he said because he was done with this physical form. He said, I began to eat 3 meals a day. I said, well, why would you do that if you're supposed to eat 1 meal a day and you're supposed to do everything according to righteousness? He said, look, I ate 3 meals a day because it accelerates my decay. It accelerates my breakdown. It didn't make no sense to me. I didn't realize until last year after my graduation it was a riddle. And this is what the riddle was. He was telling me that at this day and time, the old ways would be hampered by greed. That's what he was telling me. When he showed himself as being aged, he's telling me this is the old ways. This is the old stuff, the old energy. And it's going to be hampered from the rebirth of the new energy by the 3 meals a day represented the greed. Because according to How to Eat to Live, if you're eating 3 meals a day, you're greedy. That's just that simple. You're greedy. 7 deadly sins. Jealousy, envy, lust, greed, number 4. So greedy, what will make a person greedy? Deprivation. Deprivation is the fertilizer for greed. Who's been deprived? The American so-called Negro. Since he's been here, he's been deprived. Been deprived of everything that the Christ was deprived of in the crucifixion. He's been deprived of knowledge itself. Thorns on his head. Deprived of the right to build his own stuff with his hands nailed to the cross. Deprived of the right to walk the land freely with his feet nailed to the cross. And his blood has been contaminated against his will, thus seen by the spirit of destiny as it mixes the blood in the urine. It's in your face. But I have to show you that it's in your face or you won't believe me. It's right there. The whole story is right there. So the judgment that Anu, who was authorized to issue a judgment because his rank was higher, issued the judgment on Nebuchadnezzar as the story is told. That's Hiram. That's the story of Hiram. Part of it. Part of it is in Ezekiel. Some of it is in the other lesser prophets. It's all there though. It's broke up. They use homonyms and synonyms. All of this stuff is relevant. They use star charts to confuse you because they know the stars not going to change. And that's one of the few things that they put in the books, no matter which one it is, that you can always check for frame of reference. They're not allowed to change anything stellar. If you see them write about a star, study that intently, because that's one of the few things that, according to the rules of this universe, they cannot change that on Earth where it cannot be referenced with the stars. Any book that they call a religious book, if it got stellar references, that's your starting point. Match the stars up first. Then match the stories up that fall under the stars. And then it'll clear itself up. You won't need nobody to do it for you. You won't need nobody. So this is why they keep telling you that it's astrotheology in the Bible, in the Quran, the Judaic religions. All they telling you is that everything man can change on earth, he can't change the stars in the sky. So your elders, your ancestors, was wise enough to know this. So everything they did, they tied it directly to the stars so that you can read it in real time as it unfolds on earth. And that's why I pointed out when I was telling everyone Hiram was raised. The stars point to the Orion belt. Who is Orion? The great and mighty hunter. Who was the great and mighty hunter? Nimrod. Who was Nimrod? The one they feared. Who was the one they feared? The only one they couldn't defeat, Sun Wukong. Well, what happened to Sun Wukong? Sun Wukong met the Buddha. The Buddha sent him to tame his Sakoma, his monkey man. He named him Hanuman as he became realized because he said, the Monkey King told the Buddha that no man may become God. They can all attain the level of a Hanuman. Look it up. It's no secret. It's all there. And so, if the Orion is the great hunter Nimrod, and if Nimrod is the only undefeated Sun Wukong, and the Sun Wukong went to the Buddha, the great wise one, and the great wise one told him he had to attain the wisdom of the ages before he could rule. And so he went on a journey to the west. Where would he go? Where would he go? If he's going on a journey to the west, where would he go? So at that time, the west was Africa. So he went to the Congo. So this is why they call him the king of the Congo. And they use the symbol of the gorilla, King Kong, because the gorilla is the only major mammal on the continent of Africa you will not find in the hieroglyphics. Now you got to ask yourself why. If they knew about chimpanzees and orangutans in Asia, well, not orangutans because they wrote about them over in India, but if they knew about chimpanzees in Africa, if they knew about baboons in Africa, and they knew about the elephant in Africa, and the lion, and the wildebeest, and they knew about stuff in the water that y'all ain't even seen yet in Africa, how the hell they didn't know about the gorilla? Well, spoiler. The only reason the gorilla is not in the hieroglyphics is the last totem clan to rise on earth before the ascent would be the gorilla clan. So they were not allowed to use that symbol because the reign of Hanuman had not come. The reign of the Monkey King, crowned in the Congo, had not come. So they can't use his symbols prematurely. If they try to use his symbols, they would violate the rules and lose power instantly and ruin everybody's ascent, even though it's been evil, wicked, and painful. The whole purpose of giving her only begotten son is that no human be thrown away like trash and nobody be left behind who does not choose to be left behind. The only way you can choose to be left behind in the final ascension of this era is by choosing to do things that bring down your natural higher vibratory rate. You have to draw yourself down to becoming lesser than what you are. The more you try to become your best self, the more you can ascend and the more worthy you are to call yourself righteous. And this is why I say it's easier for a rich man to enter in through an eye of a needle, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is a realization. When you get the comforts and you stop doing the self-work because of the comforts of the life, you forfeit your right to ascend because you are content being less than yourself in the name of a dollar. You're content with being less than yourself in the name of a dollar. So as long as the money is more important than your family, you ain't gonna make it. If the money is more important than your people, than other humans, you're not gonna make it. I'm telling you now, the money is the mark of the beast. Always have been, always will be. The money, the greenback, is the mark of the beast. But it's not the money. You gotta keep this in mind, because it said the mark is in your hands and in your head, holding the money and thinking about it all day. When that's your only purpose in life is to make money, you are worthless. When your only purpose in life is to make money, you are worthless. You are guaranteed not to ascend because you will not do the internal work that every Mason must do. He will not prove himself worthy before the Lord. In other words, these women is the precursor, the first recognition of your righteousness. And they gonna pass you. They gonna raise you and pass you before mama. And then mama gonna call you approved or disapproved. Many are called, few are chosen. Y'all gotta remember that. They took all of our story, they watered it down, they mixed it up, they added smear campaigns, damnation, condemnation, divide and conquer, separation, corruption. They gave us physical diseases and mental diseases, and all of these things is to stop our ascent. But without the opposition, you would never know how strong you really are. And we, being guardians of the galaxy, always knew we were strong. You always heard us talk about, even when they told us we wasn't shit, how strong we were, how great we were, never knowing that we wasn't even showing our greatness yet. The pyramids pale in comparison to the work that we did in the cleanup after these Babylonian vampires, bloodsuckers, that required the blood rights. That's why it tell you clearly, the Old Testament God required blood. The New Testament Christ requires righteousness. Do the math, and it's in your face. So, it tell you in the New Testament that the Christ came that you can be free from the law and you can walk in grace. How do you do that? Because apparently we're not free from the law. What is the law? It's the law of the Levite. What's the law of the Levite? They're all in there. It's the law of levies, Levites, levies, and liens. Don't pay them folks no attention. I got you. Me and you gonna talk later. The system of levies and liens is what they call the Levite system. That's why it leads with the word levy. The word levy is spelled Levi. They want you to worship God because God is a truth. Now, if you know Grimm's Law of Grammar say all vowels and translation are interchangeable. One of the 12 tribes is called Gad, G-A-D, for they sing the truth. Gad is God. So you know you're worshiping now. So when you say Gad, you're still in their system. Gad is God. Not gut, not the German word for good. That's deception. I'm finna crack open some of this stuff before I wrap this video up. But that's a deception. Gad is who you calling on when you call God. One of the 12 tribes of Israel, and that's why your prayers don't get answered, because he don't have the authority to answer them. Gad, that you're calling God, one of the sons of Israel, is not authorized to answer the prayer. That's why you have to attach it to the amen. Because the amen has to exonerate him immediately when you say the prayer and call on God. The amen, the one who is ruling by deceit and deception, behind the scenes, that one has to immediately exonerate the tribe of Gad under the law of Levi. Now, under the law of Levi, when Levi issue a levy or declares you erring, and he issues a rent or a decree, a rent of war, a war rent for your detention, a warrant for your arrest, your restriction. He's binding you in the name of the law. You're bound in the name of the law. When you are arrested, the word arrest means to bound or restrict in the name of the law. So now, how do you get bound? Bound in the name of the law. You get bound in the name of the law as the resort of the war rent. A warrant rent is a declaration of war on an individual. But it's metaphysical, not physical. But it will leak physical. but it starts metaphysically with the war rant. The war rant is a decree or a declaration of war. This is mysticism, and it's not what you would call law and truth. This is all of the stuff that's energetically being placed on you as a spell. The war rant is actually a spell. The spell binds you. In order to free yourself from the spell, you have to identify the rant of war. In other words, you have to identify, yes, GAD, the war rant, and you have to protest it. You have to become a Protestant. But when you become a Protestant and protest the war rant, you have to realize that you're doing it in front of one of the brothers, or a Judahite, or a judge. The judges are Judah. Judah is a judge, right? So that's why they're telling you that the Son of Man is from the line of Judah, but he's not of Judah. It don't make no sense. He's from the line of Judah, but he's not Jewish or a Judahite. He's not a Levite. He's not of the lawgivers. He's not of the lawgivers. And so, who does he fall under? He falls directly under the one that says beloved, or a Dawid. He falls under David because he is an expression of Solomon. How do you know? Solomon means the soul of man. What's the soul of man? The soul of man is a piece of gold that goes in your heart. It's the soul light. It's the ray inside of you. It's your pyramid, the pyro, the fire in the middle. Right? So, when they gave us all of these stories, they never sourced them for you, because that's your job. The right to discovery is why they created a library. In order to bury everything in lies. Because you got to dig out the truth. That's your job. So, they told you they destroyed the libraries of Alexandria. No. They in the Vatican. That's the Vatican library now. Because Rome won that part of the war. You got to remember, they called it Alexandria. Who conquered? Alexander. Who was Alexander? Alexander was the one who went in the Indus Valley to get the military doctrine that he needed to subjugate the rest of the world. The caste system. The caste system had to be adapted. How do you clean up the genetic mess? You tie it back in the source. They call it tying into the vine. If they don't tie into the vine, the genetics fall apart. So, black people that's been oppressed for 400 years wonder why we don't get no awards at the Oscars and the Grammys, and why they don't recognize us when we sell 50 million records the same as they do with Justin Timberlake. You got the pyramids. You don't need that shit. You created music. You don't need no Grammy. You created that shit. You wrote the fucking notes. The original notes of music was written by black women, or as they call black goddesses, that they call them enchantresses. This is where it come from. So, if the white people that you see in the Caucasus, Yaqub's grafted up,